What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about the best real estate niche to invest in for every rank in the military. Now, I'm going to read my note here for a second and then I'll get to it. I want to preface this with the fact that any rank can invest anywhere, and I actually think your personality, financial position, long-term goals are bigger factors than just your rank. That being said, I was asked if I would break down by rank what I think the average is for each niche or where you should look and what might fit where you're at for your job. So here are my thoughts. Now, I will do a quick breakdown on each strategy and what it is. That is not the intent of this video. And then I'm just going to briefly list what ranks I think would be a good fit for that and why. So the first one up, wholesaling. Wholesaling real estate is where I go to someone and I'm like, yo, what a lovely book you have. I'll give you $10. And they're like, wow, I want 12. And you're like, nah, bitch, I'll give you 10.5. And they're like, okay. And then you take the book and you go, hey, Facebook, anybody want the book for $15? And then when someone buys it, you're like, I made $4.50. That's essentially wholesaling. You're doing it with houses. You're going to people and you're like, this is my best offer. And they're like, you know what, okay. And then you go and you try to sell it for more to other investors who are going to flip it. Now, there are people out there who say this is unethical and all this other stuff. But the bottom line is, there are houses that people own that a bank won't lend on, and if nobody's going to pay cash, somebody's going to pay cash. So you come in as a wholesaler, you're like, I'll buy that cash. They're like, okay, cool. You sell it to a flipper. That flipper makes money. You make money. The person who's selling the house has a house sold that they weren't going to be able to sell in the MLS. So there are plenty of ethical ways to do it. There are also plenty of unethical ways to do it. Don't be that guy. Now, that being said, so like, for example, just to clarify that, don't go under contract on a property that you aren't able to close yourself. Now, there are plenty of wholesaling gurus out there who will tell you all the ways to get out of this, but you're just fucking someone. Don't be that asshole. That's the unethical way. I wholesaled like 60 fucking houses, and not one did I ever sign for, not intending to buy it myself if I couldn't wholesale it. And every single one that I couldn't find a buyer for, I took down myself and flipped or bird or whatever. Now, I would say this is good for E1 to E5. No money, decent amount of time. I won't say no money. Some of them have money. But like, less income, less money, and probably a little bit more time, as much as they don't think so, than like an O5. So I think that's a good fit. Okay, second, house flipping, or BRRRR, which is like the buy, rehab, rent, refinance. Basically, you flip the house, but instead of selling it, you refinance it, pull all your money back out. Both great strategies, both great options. And I don't think I need to elaborate too much on what house flipping is. Fix a house up and flip it, right? Sell it. I think this is great for like E5 to E7 and maybe O1 to O4. A little bit more money, a little bit more stability, probably a little bit more mature. Also still has at least some time in your day or can make it in order to manage the project. And maybe some resources to help when you can't manage the project. Short-term rental, medium-term rental. Airbnb, VRBO, all that stuff. Again, I don't think I need to expound too much on what that is, so we'll leave it there. I think this would be a good fit for like an E6 to an E8, or like an O3 to an O5. So like, you still have some time. You're not the busiest guy in the world, but you're pretty busy. But you also have a higher paycheck. So the reason for that is short-term rentals, medium-term rentals, they do require a decent amount of management, but you can automate a lot of it. But because you have to be able to furnish the property and stuff, they can be a little cost-intensive up front. So I just don't know that that's an entry-level option for most people, but you know, that's my thought. Next, we're going to talk turnkey. And for reference, for a lot more information on this, you can go to militaryturnkey.com. I actually have a page there that does a little bit of explanation, but allows you to book a free call with my good friends over at Rent to Retirement. Yes, that's an affiliate link. If you buy a house, they'll hook me up with like a thank you. But it's out of their pay for selling the house, not out of your pocket. So, but I want to full disclose that. Militaryturnkey.com. Zach Lemaster, the founder of Rent to Retirement, is a phenomenal guy. We actually rented his house, one of his super luxury Airbnbs, for an event I hosted in February, and just phenomenal experience. Great guys, great team. They'll take care of you. Air Force vet, like, anyway. Turnkey is essentially you buying a house that doesn't need work and putting a renter in it and being hands-off. In a lot of the case, they actually have property management that they work with and recommend, so like they can sell you a house that already has someone in it. A lot of the rent to retirement stuff is actually new build houses. So they build it from the ground up, hand it to you as a turnkey rental, as opposed to like a house that's been flipped. But they actually have really stringent requirements on their flips, like anything over 10 years mechanically they replace, like water heater and stuff like that. And a lot of turnkey companies are like, if it's not broke, don't fix it, which means you could get a 20-year-old water heater. Not what you want. So I'm a big fan of theirs. But turnkey, admittedly, you can earn a better return on a lot of this if you do it yourself. That being said, not always your best option, which is why for turnkey I listed anyone who's overseas. So like if you're in Japan wanting to invest in the US, turnkey's a great option because you're not very close. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, right? So it's a good option. I also mentioned on here, I've put E7 to E9 and O4 to O6. So those persons that have a little bit more money, so like the extra down payment or the fact that they're not getting as great of a return might be okay, but they're also super busy, so they don't want to be managing the property, right? So that's kind of my window for what I would think is like ideal for like turnkey. But again, anyone overseas. Finally, there's two here that I put down. So multifamily, i.e. syndications, like really big apartments that pool a bunch of money together from people. On the passive side, meaning the limited partner, like the investor side, where you're not operating the deal, I listed this as kind of E6 to E9, O4 and above. So those members of the military who have a little bit more money and a whole lot less time, that might be the best bet for the passive investing. Now, on the active side, meaning you're actually running those big deals and taking investor capital, I put E6 to E8, O3 to O5. And the reason for that being, they're not the busiest people, but they're still busy. But they've got, like, I wouldn't want to be like an E2 trying to raise capital. Sorry, that's going to be a really rough road. Not to say you can't do it, but if you're an E2 and you're trying to raise capital for a syndication, people are going to wonder, like, what's your experience? What's your track record? You're awful young. Like, there's a lot of things. Whereas, that E6 to E8, O3 to O5, you've got confidence, you've got experience, you've got a Rolodex, you've got peers that have capital, so you're in a better spot to raise money for these deals. But you also still have a little bit more time so that you can actually operate these deals. But I probably wouldn't jump right into multifamily. This would be like a progression to get there. But now, you may have noticed throughout this video that I didn't mention warrant officers. Ultimately, that's because, as everybody knows, warrant officers can do whatever the fuck they want, and they're going to. So I don't know that they necessarily, I don't think there's any parameters. I think they could do any and all. And really, it's because I forgot, and then I got to the end, and I was like, this will be funnier than me going back and putting in warrant officers when really think they're smart enough to figure out where they go in there. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts? What did I get wrong? What do you think I should make a lower rank or a higher rank, or what strategies did I forget? I'd love to hear your thoughts, but comment down below, subscribe, share it if you got something out of it, and I hope this helps.